Before we get into how the Rockets defended Wembanyama differently than most teams, I think it's also important to recognize that they made him work on the defensive end and absorb a lot more contact than he's used to taking. So this first clip that we're going to roll right now is Şengün getting downhill off of the roll, and then he's just going to be a human battering ram, lowering his shoulder, lowering his body right into Wembanyama multiple times. He gets to the free throw line, and then we're going to see Cam Whitmore do the same thing. Drive right at Wembanyama, go into his chest, deal some punishment there, and that takes a toll over the course of 48 minutes. Let's go ahead and pause things up top and talk about how the Rockets were able to defend Wembanyama better than just about any team in the league this season, especially over their last two matchups in March. While there are multiple parts to this equation, it all sort of starts with Dillon Brooks, and as we roll the tape, you'll see him get physical with Victor, push him off his spot in the post, and just generally make him uncomfortable, so let's freeze. Notice how Green and Şengün are sagging off Jones and Sochan while Dillon denies the entry pass by sitting on Wemby's hip. And forcing everyone else to beat them is one of their philosophies for this matchup. And as we resume, Sochan has a wide open three, but the Rockets don't care and they'll live with that shot. Here's another example of that concept in motion. There's going to be gap help from Jeff Green that dissuades Wemby from attacking the rim, so he kicks it out to Blake Wesley. The Spurs get nothing out of this Keldon Johnson drive, and they end up settling for Blake bricking a three off the backboard. Watch as Brooks and Şengün seamlessly switch on this ball screen and deny an entry feed to Victor, forcing Blake to swing the ball so the Spurs can get into a second side action and then reset with Wemby up top, where a DHO with Blake results in another missed three from a sub 20% outside shooter. And from the second Brooks comes into frame, you can see him grappling with Wembanyama, making him work for every inch. Even when he flashes to the elbow to catch the ball, active feet and hands encourage Wemby to retreat to the perimeter. And while he finds Vassell backdoor, the Rockets swarm Devin, knowing Trey is basically a negligible threat from deep. Even when Wemby breaks free off the roll to catch this misplaced lob, three Houston defenders converge on his landing, and VanVleet rips the rock from the rookie. As Vassell brings the ball up, the Spurs are able to use a screen and handoff to draw a mismatch with VanVleet, but he peels off Victor and Şengün takes his place, so let's pause. Defending a mobile big might sound like a nightmare matchup for Alpi, but he is just too strong for Wembanyama to move him. He's also among the league leaders in steals and deflections for centers, and as we unpause, he uses those lightning quick reflexes to poke the ball free when Victor tries a rip through. The Spurs will run that Horns pinch flex set we talked about earlier this season, and while nothing comes of those initial actions, the real issue is how far Wemby makes this catch from the basket, so freeze. The Rockets know that he'll have to cover a ton of real estate if he wants to drive baseline, and while he attempts to back down Şengün, he loses his balance under tight pressure, and Houston gets a fast break bucket with little resistance. So, if the Rockets have effective personnel like a burly wing and deceivingly active center who can switch or take turns bothering Wembanyama, how can he find success against them? Well, this baseline out of bounds sequence highlights how he can leverage that extra attention to create looks for others, and while he stumbles a bit here, he maintains his composure and uses his long limbs to find Malachi Branham for a corner three. And when the Rockets don't have Şengün or Brooks on the floor, Victor must be decisive off the catch. He dribbles out for a handoff as he waits for Houston to clear the paint, and then flows into the scoop slam off the entry pass with the much smaller Green hanging on for dear life. But with the game on the line, there's no chance Ime Udoka leaves both of those guys on the bench. So how can Wemby win if Brooks sticks to him like glue? Well, let's go ahead and pause. San Antonio's emptied out most of the floor on the sideline sequence for Vic to catch this inbounds pass from Sochan, or at least that's how Dillon reads this situation. So Wemby uses that aggressive ball denial against him, and as we unpause, loses Brooks' backdoor and earns an and one with the All-NBA defender draped all over him.